Hey, listen up. Yeah, we here and we locked in. Let's keep it going all the way to the top 10. We feel the turtle, so it's no other option. Fred and Ryan, just watch them. Let's take it to the max. It's the shell and tell. They come with all the facts. It's the shell and tell. Let's take it to the max. It's the shell and tell. They come with all the facts. It's the shell and tell.
What's up, Terp fans? Fred, Ryan, and Ahmed back for another episode of the Shell and Tell podcast. It's Sunday, January 16th. It's snowing outside, baby. It's cold outside today. So we got a nice show for you. We got a special guest. Big fan of this guy. Big fan of him as a person, as a player. Chig Okonkwo joins us to talk about his preparations as he gets ready for the NFL.
Yeah, and we'll run through more transfer attrition as well as the first official coaching change, and not the one anyone was looking for.
Yep, and we'll wrap it up with the basketball double overtime win over Northwestern, followed by Saturday's letdown performance at home against Rutgers.
Yeah, letdown is putting it mildly.
Yeah, well, let me say this once. So it's exciting. Well, let's not talk about sad basketball. Let's get to the exciting football news first.
All right. Well, before we get to the interview, man, let's talk a little bit about the staffing. As obviously there's been a lot of rumors and names floated around, especially amongst the fan base of guys that maybe or positions that we thought we might see some changes in. First position that we do see a change, wide receiver coach Zon Burden headed to Duke as of last week. This one was kind of a surprise. Seemed to me as kind of a lateral move. Ahmed, make this make sense.
Yuck.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely on the surface, it didn't seem that money was the primary motivation in leaving. And I guess I did not know that he had the passing game coordinator lobby to him as well. But he obviously will now go to Durham and take the wide receiver job, which he had at Maryland, and be elevated to the passing game coordinator for the Blue Devils. And obviously that wasn't a possibility with Maryland with tight end coach Mike Miller possessing that title as a passing game coordinator. So it's a step up for Zon, but it was definitely a surprise. Just wrapped up his first year, was expected to really help Maryland to get back into Virginia a lot more. And he played a hand in landing 4-star running back Ramon Brown, 4-star wide receiver Shalik Knotts, and Zon did leave for wide receiver Leon Houghton out of high school. He did give Maryland some concrete commitments and he kind of did help. But yeah, like you guys said, I wasn't expecting it, but just with the opportunity to the added responsibility of passing game coordinator is kind of what tilted the tide on this one.
So we didn't want this guy leaving with that kind of recruiting shot.
No, you just took the heart of our recruiting class that's coming in and said, oh no,
the guy that did that.
Yeah, the guy that brought all this in potentially leaves. I mean, is there any potential with these guys following suit and following him?
I wouldn't. I don't have that concern right now. I mean, it hasn't come up on the site, but I don't want anyone to think that people are going to be requesting out of their letters of intent or anything like that. I think a guy like Leon Houghton, I think it's he's kind of coming into the school that was really on top of him the hardest. Comes into the place where he was wanted. So I think that Maryland will be able to find some other replacements to help them get into Virginia. No names just as of yet, but it is a concern. But I will say that that when Zon came aboard, he was expected to also help with guys like Tyshun Chapman and George Pettaway, and obviously those guys stuck with UNC. So I think that there was also another level that Maryland fans might have expected out of Zon, but I do think that Zon, I mean, from the 2024, 2025 classes, you're going to see his name a lot. And surprisingly enough, he actually does come from the Chris Beatty coaching tree. Coach played under him back in the day. So, I think Maryland, this is a loss, obviously, on the recruiting trail, helped the wide receiver room, but I do think that this is something that they will be able to bounce back from.
Yeah. Is there any other coaching news that we should be aware of at this moment?
Hasn't been anything official. I mean, there's been a lot of back and forth. I think even Loxley Thursday or Friday did an interview and said that he and Damon have still been meeting daily, organizing and figuring out, staffing stuff. I posted a premium note on assistant Ron Zook for Inside the Black and Gold subscribers over the weekend. The coaches started checking back in on campus throughout last week ahead of this weekend's official visitors. So no news yet, but we definitely will have some it's definitely some developments over the next definitely 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think Zook is the main name that we've heard around the fan base the most, that we thought maybe there'd be a move there.
Thought it'd be the first exit.
Yeah.
But I don't know if, you're going to like this update, people.
Yeah, but make sure if you haven't checked it out yet, hit that subscribe button, pay your $8 a month, get on there and check out that new note that he's got about Zook. So we got to talk a little bit about the portal. We obviously updated you all in our last episode from the Birdland show. A lot of attrition happening, but there were a few more pieces that kind of fell over the last few days. And it didn't stop at wide receiver. We had two more departures at wide receivers. DeJuan Ellis and Dino Tomlin both hit the portal.
Yeah, I think Ellis, he was a guy that didn't crack the rotation. I think he kind of had a chance to play both at cornerback and wide receiver, play both at Maryland. Obviously, he transferred in from Virginia Tech, a former McDonough guy, but just wasn't the path to playing time going into next season. Don't know how viable it was. And then Dino Tomlin, I'm hearing that he actually might land at a Power 5 school. Doesn't sound like it's 100%, but sounds like there's a decent chance that it happens. But again, I don't know how much he was going to play this year. I think you saw Ty Felton, that he was a true freshman and kind of played a lot more than some of these guys that have been here a year or two.
Dino Tomlin, man, a guy we can't root for more. Somebody was our very first guest here on Shell and Tell. I still remember the day when, I was spamming out everybody I could get a direct message to, trying to find a guest for Shell and Tell, and Dino replied. I'm like, oh my God, a Tomlin replied? That's gonna be our very first guest on this, at that point, nothing podcast. It was our very first episode. Yeah. He had faith in us, and he came on, was a good guest. So we've been doing nothing but rooting for him. But like you said, it didn't show. He had very few even attempts, his way. And when they did go his way, it didn't end well usually.
But what I will say is, Dino, I know I posted it kind of throughout the season. We get a chance to go for Tuesday practices and see portions, but if there were ever times where you see players stay after practice, Dino was one of them every single time. So that's something that, when you talk about work ethic and, just controlling the controllables, as Loxley says, Dino does a great job of that. So, work ethic, drive, never a question. So it's, don't stop rooting for him.
Yeah, Ellis seems to be the only one that's got a little burn behind him. If you're paying attention on Twitter and social media, man, he's gone a little viral with his posting of practice clips and the little bit of footage I guess he does have. Seems to be he might be the most bitter, I guess, of all the departures.
Yeah, I think he wrote. I think I saw a tweet where he mentioned that he was going to play a lot more and didn't end up playing. Best of luck to him at his next stop.
Yeah, right. He just basically said that his lack of production was not due to lack of talent; it was due to lack of opportunities, kind of thing, and just was like spam blasting every clip and kind of trying to make Maryland look silly. I get it. You can't feel good rejection at any level, and when you're propped up to that kind of level, anybody telling you can't do it is going to be met negatively. Yeah. So hopefully he's right. Hopefully it works out for him and he goes to those big things. But we got a lot of people in that room. I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah, another guy on the offensive side of the ball, tight end Malik Jackson, also hits the portal.
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about him.
Yeah, and he's another guy when you kind of look, and he signed with the 2019 class when Loxley first took over, and local guy out of Meade High School. But again, he just kind of Maryland was able to add CJ Dupree and Weston Wolf last year, and you kind of saw Dupree stepping in as that tight end, blocking tight end, and Malik Jackson also did miss the spring with injuries. So again, it's I wish him the best of luck. He's a great kid, and never heard of any problems about him. But he'll probably go down a level and find a role where he can play a good amount.
And probably in the biggest departure, the one that'll hurt the most, outside linebacker Deshaun Holt has landed at Toledo. Yeah. Can you tell us more about how that ended up and what do you think he's going to do at the next level?
Yeah, I think that this is a piece. I don't think that this is a. I liked him because I thought that he was a guy where he kind of came in and maybe outperformed expectations that maybe fans had from him. And I
For
think that
sure.
even when you look at the depth chart next year, some fans say, yeah, he probably wasn't going to start, and you can make that argument, but he was a guy that had pretty good experience through these last 2 seasons. Had drawn praise. Was not someone that the staff wanted to see leave in the slightest. And I think that this might be a departure that kind of gets overlooked. And when you kind of look at the depth chart now, there's some inexperience at outside linebacker that Holtz. If he was still with the program, he would have really been able to be an asset in that area. So he'll go to Toledo, team up with former Maryland running back Penny Boone. So I think this is a significant departure.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, outside linebackers got talent, but it's young talent. And again, you got to have that depth there. And Maryland right now doesn't have a whole lot of options.
And even if you don't start, I mean, there's plenty of minutes. When you're talking about defensive line, this is not a position that plays every snap. Like,
Right.
it's a grueling position. The starters aren't going to be out there all the time.
Yeah.
I always think about that Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl team that just had like 19 dudes playing defensive line that they just rotated through. Like,
Right.
to keep guys fresh in that position is a huge advantage.
Exactly. I mean, you look at even inside linebacker. I believe it was the Michigan game, but we saw Kobe Thomas that was playing a lot, and he wasn't a
Yep.
guy that we had in our top 5 guys going into the season at inside linebacker. But injuries happen.
Exactly.
You like you said, Fred, you got to Ryan, you got to keep guys fresh. So I agree. I think that was definitely a local guy with experience. So it'll be interesting to see how the depth shakes out next year.
Now, a couple guys we talked about on last week's show, Brian Cobbs, Daryl Jones. We talked about them hitting the portal. Well, now they've found their next destination. Brian Cobbs heads off to Utah State, while Daryl Jones heads to NC State. Any surprises here? Because to me, NC State seems like a pretty good landing spot for
it's
Daryl Jones.
Not too shabby.
Yeah, well, it's no surprise that former Maryland wide receiver coach Joker Phillips is at NC State now, so that helped make that connection possible. I had heard that there were some other receivers. I know Logan Delizio, who's been really great on the site. He had heard that there were some other Power Five or some Maryland receivers that were looking out that wanted to look at NC State as a viable landing spot. So good for Daryl Jones. I believe that got announced within a week of him hitting the portal, maybe 10 days. But yeah, and then Brian Cobbs, really rooting for him. I got a chance actually to see him very briefly at the game on Saturday against Rutgers. So just a great guy. I mean, kind of like Chig. It's really hard to root against those guys. So he'll have a really good opportunity to shine next year.
So that's the out. Who are the people we can worry about trying to get in from the portal?
Yeah, I got to ask you about one guy in particular because there's been a name that's been floating out there. It's Tyson Bagent, the quarterback out of Shepherd. I know his name's been flirted out there with Terps ties, but I've seen some articles out there that says it's going to take an Alabama to pull me away. Let the fans know what's going on with this guy. Is there a real possibility of him landing at College Park?
Yeah, I don't. So I want to start it out by saying I'm not projecting him anywhere because I think that Maryland does have a chance to get him coming out of this weekend. I know they're still looking in some things, and I think West Virginia, they did a really good job. There was an offer that he was very excited, and West Virginia, even out of high school, if they wanted Badgett, they would have been able to get him. It just Dana Holgerson just did not go after him really. So the Mountaineers this time around are a viable contender, but also don't rule out Badgett going back to Shepherd, playing another season there. I've heard a couple people mention that, just from local players who play at Shepherd say, that's kind of what we're expecting. So that I'm just not at the point where I think that he will land at one school with 100% confidence. But those are the three schools that I see in play right now. So we'll see. I think it'll be kind of interesting. But if he were to come, Bagent would fill in that role as the second scholarship quarterback. Maryland would not have a second scholarship quarterback if Bagent doesn't come. So that's a big selling point right now that Maryland needs a second scholarship, especially in the spring. You get those reps, get the offense, things like that. So that'll be really interesting. He is probably the prominent name to know right now out of the portal.
Yeah, it's definitely a need. It's just an interesting to see if he ends up being another Reese Udinsky 2.0. Does he come here with the intentions and with the know-how that he's going to be sitting behind Leah at least for a year before potentially getting his shot here?
That'd be great. Can I get a Reese 2.0? That sounds awesome.
And that's kind of the biggest thing, though, is that, like, like you said, if he were to come to College Park, he would be coming in, sitting out one season, because Maryland is being extremely transparent that Leah's the starter this year. He will likely leave after this season, and then you'll have a chance to redshirt, and then 2023 season, you come in as a full-time starter. But would he be willing to do that instead of just returning as a starting quarterback at Shepherd, where he just finished throwing for over 5,000 yards, 53 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions? So it's going to be a very, very interesting pursuit. Once Udinski left, I thought it was interesting and just how Maryland would go about it. So it's going to be fun to watch it play out.
I'm interested that they're actually advertising it as potential you'd be the full-time starter in 2023, because that to me means that they're not super high on Jaden Saray being ready in 2023.
Yeah, but he doesn't get here until summer, so he
Right.
wouldn't have, he would have going into next season, he would have that first full year. But again, he's only had 2 seasons in high school as a starting quarterback, and
That's a good
he
point.
obviously went to states 1 year, won it 1 year, lost in the other. But I think Survey is a good piece in the quarterback room. I just don't know that he would be ready to start in 2023. I think with time, maybe 2024, you give him a long look, but I don't know if he would be it just that soon.
That's a great point.
All right, well, that's the quarterback we need to know in the transfer portal, but we need somebody to stop some quarterbacks because we're a little light on the back end of our defense.
Yeah.
So what do you got coming in from there, Ahmed?
Yeah, it's Maryland also got a chance to host former South Carolina cornerback Dominic Hill. He was in the 2 deep for the Gamecocks all season. Got a chance. He was also an early enrollee, former 4-star out of the 2020 class for South Carolina. So he would be a guy that would have some multiple years ahead of him if you were to get to College Park. And when you kind of look at the cornerback room for next year, you have Jacorian Bennett now coming back. You have Deontay Banks, who's going to be cleared, fully healthy, and then you also have Tarheeb still. So I think you do have those 3 starters that you feel confident in. That Loxley was adamant that he felt confident in, even going into this season. But Hill would play a pretty big role. Just with the depth and help staggering that depth in the room. So I think that he would come in, but I just don't know. I guess where Maryland stands in his recruitment, it's been a little bit more quiet around him, and he's not really talking too much. But from what I understand, this is his second visit to date since entering the portal. So I think that this is a guy that Maryland has a chance with, but it's just a little too soon to say. But I think it's also indicative that a quarterback and a cornerback came in. I think to me, those are the 2 biggest priorities for the staff, and really seem to be the 2 positions where they're moving the most.
100%. I mean, we've had year in and year out where we've seen 5, 6 deep at cornerback specifically. Yeah. So even if the next person's not coming in to fight for a starting role, having that depth is absolutely crucial to this team's success. They will play for sure. So we talked a lot about some comings and some goings of players. One guy who is taking the next step in his career he's going to be pursuing his lifelong dream of being an NFL player is our special guest on this week's show, Chigoziem Okonkwo. All right, joining us now is number 9 in your programs, number 1 in your heart, Terps tight end, Chig Okonkwo. Chig, appreciate you taking the time to join us today, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, man. It's first of all, got to start it off. Congratulations on a hell of a senior season, a hell of a career, really, as a Terp. Can't end it much better than your first bowl appearance and to win in such a dominant fashion. How was that entire experience for you personally at the Pinstripe Bowl?
Yeah, man, it was amazing. It's just like a culmination of everything that we went through for the past, years in the program. To be able to go down and have a great time in New York with all of our brothers. And then, just go out and dominate the game, complete domination on special teams, defense, offense. I felt like we finally played our perfect game that we're talking about having all year. And it was just perfect to have it in my final game.
Absolutely. All 3 levels.
Yeah, that was a perfect game. You talk about your brothers. What was it like growing with some of these guys, the Daryl Jones, Brian Cobbs, Carlos Carey, that all got to really shine and have their big moments in what would be their final season as the Terps?
It was amazing just, seeing everything that they went through, just always not, getting to be the number 1 guy, but, finally getting their chance to shine. And, they, as you see, like they all took advantage of opportunities when they came. I'm especially very happy for Daryl, man, because me and Brian were talking about it like in the hotel. We're like, dang, Daryl hasn't scored a touchdown yet.
Right.
And then we're saying, yeah, this game, I guarantee he'll have multiple touchdowns. And then when he did, we were just looking at each other like, whoa. We were just talking about this like the whole week. We were just talking about this.
That's
And
awesome.
to see it finally coming to light was really cool.
Broke out in a big way, man.
He did, for sure. You know, the three of us got a chance to go up there and kind of take in the festivities from a fan standpoint. So I got to ask you, off the field for a second, what were some of your favorite off-the-field experiences up there in New York during the bowl game?
Definitely just all the moments when we were just, not thinking about football. So the one time we had a comedy show that was hilarious. The third guy who came on was hilarious. He was really funny. And then, we were there with Virginia Tech too, so we got to make fun of, Johnny Jordan too. Old
That's
teammate.
awesome.
Then, we got to go ice skating in Central Park. That was really cool. That was cool. And, just being in Times Square with the bros and just taking photos and stuff like that. Just not thinking about football, just getting to, just take, feel like a little vacation. That was really fun.
Yeah, the New York comedy, that's kind of part of the whole thing. We got to have a similar experience that up there. We went to 2 different comedy clubs, and then after the game, we were sat right across from a bunch of Virginia Tech fans dressed all in their gear and ours. So the comedian had a good time fighting us against one another. It was a good time.
It was a good time.
And Chig, I know you mentioned kind of through the season that you wanted to help your team and the program kind of take that next level. So obviously you made your decision prior to the bowl game, but when you kind of look back and the bowl win and finishing 7-6, I guess what do you think that means for the future of the Maryland program?
Yeah, man, finishing 7-6, in our eyes, it's not really what we actually wanted. We wanted more out of this season, but just finishing 7-6, getting over 500 and getting the bowl game, we all know that that's just a huge step for our program. Seeing where we came from the last time we had a full season, we were 3-9, so that's a huge step. And just knowing that there's more talent coming in, more coaches coming in, all these things happening in the program. Our program, we're finally getting better facilities to match everybody else in the Big Ten. And I just can't wait to see what the team has in store for it in the future.
Yeah, man, the real fans know how close you were to having a lot more than that. I'm sure you see all the naysayers and stuff, but the real fans know after you got that winning season under the belt how close you were to having a bunch more big wins. And we can see the future coming.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Now, your path at times wasn't always easy. In 2020, obviously, you had a pretty serious health scare as you were diagnosed with a rare heart condition called myocarditis. Kind of kept you out for the entire season. Something like that hits, and I'm sure football is kind of the furthest thing from your mind at the time. How were you able to not only physically overcome all that, but mentally as well?
Honestly, it's just just keeping faith. I just have a tremendous faith that everything was going to play out, that God was going to take care of me. So just keeping that faith the whole time. I knew I was going to be able to play again, but it was hard. Obviously, just not, knowing how the future was going to be exactly, but just keeping faith and just every day, just believing that I would be able to play again. And then, as you see, got to come back, finish off my season the way I wanted to. So I'm very happy about that. Thank God for that.
Right.
Was there a single moment where you realized that all the work you had put in had really paid off, where the comeback had been complete?
I'd say, yeah, when we were taking the photo under the Rutgers scoreboard when we knew we were going to a bowl game. Honestly, I think that was the moment where we all knew, finally everything we did, all buying into the program, buying into the coaches thing, we finally got to do it. And so I think it was the first time in 5 years. I remember Coach Locks came in the team meeting room before the beginning of the bowl week, and he was like, "Raise your hand if you've been to a bowl game." And nobody on the team raised their hand, because for the last 5 years, we ever went to a bowl game. So nobody had the experience of going to a bowl game. And just him saying that, alone kind of lit the fire under us that week. And we were just like, yeah, you know what, we got to do it. No matter what happens, we got to do it. And then, just getting to get that win and going, play in New York was amazing. Getting to play at Yankee Stadium and just, that was pretty cool.
Awesome.
That's awesome, man. And then when you kind of look back, and I know when we first started, getting to know each other, you were obviously building a relationship with the then offensive coordinator Walt Bell. So when you look back at your Maryland career, you obviously played under Bell, Matt Canada, Scotty Montgomery, and obviously Dan Enos this past year. So when you kind of look back, do you feel like any of those changes maybe made it more difficult or like uncertain, when you look at year after year, off season after off season, how you need to take the next step?
Yeah, it was hard. When you always have coaching changes every single year, that's pretty rough. I mean, Walt Bell left like 4 days before I even got to campus. I was like, yeah, I'm glad. I'm kind of glad he did that though, because that honestly just made me mature quicker about like the way college is, and I started to realize that this is completely just a business. This isn't, what they say it is. You always talk family, but like you could sit down in someone's house, tell them how great everything's gonna be in the next 4 years, and then leave like 4 days before they get to campus. So just having that experience, I got to learn that just don't buy in, to the coach, buy into the program, buy into your teammates, and then everything else will take care of yourself. So I didn't really struggle with all the coaching changes. I think I always felt like I had a good role in whichever offense I got to play in. So I feel like I always had a chance to make plays.
Well, going through all of that change, how do you think that better prepared you as you go on your next step as preparations for the NFL?
That was great because I got to learn multiple offenses. Offense where we huddled up all the time. Offense where we never huddled. Offense where I was taking snaps as almost like a running back. Offense where I was flexed out, spread out, inline tight end. I pretty much got to play every single position on offense in college, and I hope NFL scouts will see that and see me as a dynamic player that can do anything on the field.
Very versatile. It's a great point.
Speaking of change, the difference in tight end usage was clear. And in 2019, we kind of got like a glimpse of what it could be, and then it kind of fizzled out. On the show, we always blame that on the injuries on the offensive line, that you guys had to do more work in the trenches and less work showing out on the receptions. Was that really the biggest difference in 2019 or 2021, or what do you see the difference in those two seasons?
I'd probably say the difference in those seasons are my football knowledge, football IQ, and then, getting the coaches and teammates to trust me more. I feel like my senior year, I made huge strides in terms of, just understanding the game and, and being more confident, honestly, with making plays. I think back in 2019, I don't think I ever would have tried to hurdle a guy. Maybe, and then, this year, like, when I got the ball in my hands, it was always like, I'm about to make a play. So, yeah, I think that's one thing, the confidence.
Well, now that you're off to the NFL draft, how do you feel about the current state of the Terps tight end room? You got a lot of young guys in there, some guys that got some play here as the season progressed. How do you feel that tight end room's shaping up?
Oh, yeah, they're going to be really good, man, because, CJ, Corey, they're gonna be really good next year. They have a lot of experience under their belt now, so it's just about learning the game more and just getting higher football IQ, and which they're definitely gonna do. It's funny because like I always say the future's so bright, man. Like CJ came in, like the day he stepped on campus, he was the strongest. He's like one of the strongest people on the team. Like, or like he was the strongest like big skill on the team. Like the day he stepped on campus, like there was nobody on the team who was stronger than him. Yeah. It was actually crazy. But then, Corey, dynamic player. He's going to learn, more with the blocking game too. He's a fearless blocker. He doesn't care, how big a guy is. He's going to go strike him. So once he puts on weight, man, and then he already has like the ball skills, and CJ's going to develop those ball skills. So yeah, the tight end room for the Terps is going to be a really great and exceptional coming up. And I think Weston honestly made the biggest improvements that I've seen all year, because from the time we were in camp to bowl practices, just seeing the way that he played, like his confidence in himself. Because at first he was kind of timid with everything, but by the time it got to the bowl practices, I was like, bro, who is this guy? We were kept on saying, I'm like, who is this? This is not like the Weston that I knew all year. Like he's playing out of his mind.
Right.
That was really fun to see, just watching those guys grow and watching him become more vocal and just become more comfortable with everybody in the room. So I'm really excited to see what they can do over the next few years.
That's exciting, man. Good to hear.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And Coach Miller, I know we talked about the changes at offensive coordinator, but Coach Miller, obviously he's been with the program for the last 3 years now. And whenever I see a video or see something of him on social media, he's always joking or very upbeat. So just kind of working with him every day in practice, I guess, what was it like playing under him, and kind of what's his style?
Yeah, man, he's a very young coach. So he's very energetic. He's always energetic in everything. There's not a single day he'll come in, not bringing the energy. So me and him, get along really well because, I'm that type of person too. So, yeah, watching him grow, honestly, has been cool too because, his first job was with us as tight end coach. So you got to see him grow, from the things that he struggled with in the past. And then seeing where he is now, getting 35 under 35, has exceptional growth too, not just us in the tight room. And he become a greater, recruiter, way smarter with the run game. Now I feel like he's like a full-fledged coach now, and I can't wait to see what he gets to do in the future for his career too.
Yeah, it's great for sure. Now you're out in Florida training, right? Getting prepped for the, I guess the East-West Shrine Bowl at this point. How's life been going post Maryland so far? I know it's not long, but the little bit of time that you've had, how's it going so far?
Dude, life is so easy, like outside of school. Oh my God, I can't even explain how easy this life is. Like, I literally wake up, train, eat, get PT, get massages, go back home to my hotel, sleep, then go back, train for the afternoon session. Then I'm literally done with my day by like 3:30. And after 3:30, I do nothing but just sit in my room, watch games, play games, and then repeat the next day.
Living the good life. I like it.
Don't got to worry about school. It's 75 degrees here every single day. It's 10 minutes away from me. So, yeah,
way to rub it in while it's snowing up here in Baltimore.
Currently snowing.
Appreciate it.
I'm wearing a skull cap indoors.
Yeah, right.
All right, man. How exciting was it to be invited to that East-West Shrine game? And what do you find the importance in that for your draft preparations?
Yeah, that game was pretty big for me. It's like one of my last, times to elevate my draft stock. Just trying to find one team that would like my abilities, So getting to go in there, play in front of all those GMs and coaches is going to be a huge deal. And then, getting to experience a Pro Bowl weekend with those guys too will be cool too.
Yeah, it's pretty cool also that it's in the same spot as the NFL draft. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Vegas.
gotta get your draft stock up, get your good 10-year career so you can keep having days over by 3:30 where you can play video games.
Now, obviously, all Division I athletes, I think, had the dream of playing professionally at the next level, obviously, right? But how surreal, I can only imagine, how surreal was it for you when that invite to the NFL Combine came? Was that the moment where it all kind of sank in?
I don't think I've had that moment yet. Probably
Really?
that moment when he drafted. Just because, I felt like I was, I expected everything that got, I expected.
Right.
So, yeah, I have so many guys come before me at my school, at my high school, so I just always knew that, there's no doubt in my mind that I could do it because I've seen people do it from where I'm from. So I was like, yeah, I know I'm going to do it. It's just a matter of time when it comes. I think that moment will hit me definitely when I get drafted.
For sure.
We're
I love the
excited to see it.
confidence. I love the confidence. That's awesome.
That's awesome, man. And when you kind of look back, I know you mentioned, obviously post school life is a lot easier now. But when you look back, and I guess what's one thing you're going to miss about College Park? It doesn't have to be, football specific, but just curious, if you go back one day, what's that one place or restaurant, or if it's a bar that you definitely want to go back to that one more time?
I think the thing I miss the most is just being able to just be like, yo, guys, let's go out this weekend. And then everybody's just like, okay, because, we're all living in the same building. So it's it's a matter of, okay, let's go downstairs and go out then.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be the biggest thing I miss, not being able to just have your friend, 100 friends around you at all times. I think that's definitely the biggest thing I miss.
Yeah.
I miss those guys for real.
I can understand that for sure. Well, Chig, we can't thank you enough for taking the time to call in with us today. Good luck with all your next steps as you get prepared to fulfill, I'm sure, a lifelong dream for you. We'll certainly miss cheering for you on Saturdays, but look forward to now cheering for you on Sundays, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Chig. Best of luck to you, bro.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Well, my cheeks hurt. I don't know about you guys. I had a great time talking to Chig. I've been smiling for that last 20 minutes that we've been talking to this man. Straight fanboy the whole time. So, how about the professionals talk about how they feel about it?
Nah, man, Chig is it's a class act, man. Class person. Just a great interview, easy to talk to. As nervous as I was in the beginning to do that interview, man, he couldn't have made it any easier for us.
Yeah, Chig is honestly, I know I told you guys this off air, but just from the day I started talking to him when he was in high school to now, I mean, probably done hundreds of interviews with him, and he's just never an issue, always polite. Having guys like Chig, it just makes it easy to root for him.
Absolutely. Easy to root for him, man. And again, we wish him nothing but success moving forward. And hopefully he's a day 2 pick. I know projections have him as a day 3 pick, but I still got a feeling that he's going to go in there, show out at the combine, and maybe get up in that day 2. At least that's my hopes, man. We'll see. But I got to bring us down to earth. I know we're on this high right now.
We're a football school, Fred.
We're a football school. Do we just end the show here? Do we just not talk basketball? No, we have to talk basketball.
We all hope that basketball gets right back there with it. We want to be a basketball and football school.
It has not been a pretty season for the men's basketball squad this year. They're coming off of they had a double overtime squeak out in Northwestern. And then they lost last night in a shit show at Rutgers, or at home versus Rutgers, a game that they, in the first half, led by 11 going into halftime, were really controlling the game. Rutgers was in foul trouble early on in the game. Maryland was going to the line, hitting all their free throws. It seemed like Maryland had the game in the bag, and then the freaking wheels fell off in the second half.
Same thing as always, man. We let their best players get the shots. We keep letting the number 1 scorer go off. That's what it's been all year. We don't have anyone to shut him down. I wonder where he's playing.
Right. Well, that guy in this game was Ron Harper Jr. If you know the name, Ron Harper, former NBA player. This is his son, 6'6", 245-pound guard. I mean, he is the prototypical NBA guard body. I mean, he had, I think, 11 points going into halftime, and then just absolutely took over in the second half, was hitting everything.
Yeah, I mean, he really took over down the stretch. I didn't realize that Danny Manning and Ron Harper, Sr., his dad, actually played together 4 years at the LA Clippers.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that either.
Emily Giambalvo from the Washington Post actually brought it up in the press conference and started reading about that. But yeah, I mean, the junior, he was the killer on Saturday. He and Paul Mulcahy combined for 31 of their 46 points in the second half alone.
Yeesh.
Maryland was outscored by 22 points in the second half, outscored 15-4 in the final 332. But yeah, I mean, Ron Harper, I mean, just the outside shooting. 1 point, Rutgers scored threes on 5 consecutive possessions. You just can't allow that. And it was just, I think the most disheartening aspect of the game was seeing how good the defense was in the first half with the steals. Yeah. And I mean, there was at 1.7 players had 1 steal. And then just seeing it all collapse down the stretch was,
it's hard to watch.
It's mentally, I wonder how they can bounce back from that with Michigan coming up on Tuesday.
I really feel for these kids, man. It's just this whole season is just not been anywhere near their expectations. Fans want to pretend like they're the ones
sorry for setting expectations so high. Golly.
Yeah, but I already told Fred last night, we were sitting talking, I said, I am pulling clips. I will be ready for next year when you tell me that this team is 11 players deep and we have the deepest bench in history of time. Every year you tell me this is going to happen. It's just never true.
I felt so good about it this year. But I mean, their struggles are across the board, man. You can't even put your finger on it being one person or one problem. I mean, it's across everybody. Even Eric Ayala, the senior, as good and as much promise as we saw out of Reese in the first couple of games, he's really struggled to get things going and can't stay out of foul trouble. It's bad.
Yeah.
I mean, things are really, really bad right now.
Yeah. I mean, even coming into the season, I kind of had some question marks because, I 100% thought that this team was going to be a top 20, maybe
Yeah.
top 15 team. I mean, I thought Fats Russell, even though I had some questions about his size, I thought that he and Ayala would do a really good job of complementing each other. I expected a
Agreed.
lot more from Waheb. Waheb does it. He just struggles defending the more athletic bigs, and like you mentioned, Reese just has the foul trouble issues. Xavier Green, I know fans look at him and they say, he doesn't have the offense, but I like what he brings defensively. He just has that role, but just the lack of shooting, I did not realize it was going to be this bad. And you can see the losses. I mean, on Ayala's face yesterday, you can tell that it is starting to wane on him a little bit.
Yeah, we still got a long way to go in this year. And I tell
Yeah.
you, watching highlights of Daryl Morcell go off against Seton Hall and put up almost 30 points and, them end up beating Seton Hall, it pained me.
Yeah,
It hurt.
all of this. It's like I don't even know what to root for. I don't know how to be invested, just because that with a new coach in place next year. I don't think many people expect it to be Manning. I guess there's like 1% chance or whatever, but how many of these people even stay? Like even the bright spots that you want to get invaded, Hart's had a great year. I can't be more high on Julian Reese. Like his future is very bright. Yes, he has foul trouble. He's a freshman. Like we've seen that before. Like he's going to be an absolutely great player. Will it be here? Will Hart be here? Like even the people you hope for and that are doing their job. Eric Ayala with the big triple double. Like what's going to be next year? Is there any investment, or do I have to learn all new players anyway? So what's the point?
I think even if you do end up getting a lot of attrition and you end up getting a lot of new players in, basketball is the one sport that can happen very quickly. Like, I mean, again, you're talking about 4 or 5 impact players can make all the difference in the world between being a bottom dweller team and being a top of the conference team. It's a much easier and faster transition in that sense than it would be on the football side of things.
Yeah.
Football, it takes a good 3-4 years for an entire program to shift over.
Yeah, I mean, you look at like Stephon Diggs, for example. I mean, he was, in my mind, he was the best player in Maryland's program history in the last 15 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
But I mean, he only played one position, whereas basketball, you sign a Anthony Edwards type guard, and you have him come in and build your offense around him, and go from there. So I think it'll be really interesting. I mean, obviously next year they're not going to have Ayala, they won't have Fats. Dante Scott, could he transfer? Could he go to the NBA? That is just projection on my part. We can't make any of those statements definitive, but yeah, I mean, I do think that like Fred said, you can get by that, and at worst, you recruit and you can get those blue chip guys, and then next year stinks, and then the following year, it's always next year. But maybe that's the outcome, but. I do think that there's something to be said just getting the new coach and generating that excitement again. I think you'll see that.
But it was very stark. So for me, I haven't paid a whole lot of attention to much else college basketball wise. I haven't really sat down and watched a whole lot of other college basketball games outside of the Terps. So all I've been privy to is this just terrible basketball. But I sat down the other day and I watched Kentucky and Tennessee play. And just watching the difference in talent level that Kentucky brings. I understand Kentucky is Kentucky, but here's the thing. Kentucky,
you're all the problem of the Terrapin fans.
Here's the thing. Kentucky is only rated like 18th in the country right now, or 15th in the country. They're not that number one, but the talent level difference was immense. They shot like 80% in this game against Tennessee. They scored like almost 100 points in this game. It was, and they had scores on the bench 3 and 4 deep. I mean, it was crazy how much difference there is from that kind of a program to where we're at right now. It's immense.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Help ease my fears or make me cry. I don't care which one. Does Angel Reese being here give us any bigger chance of keeping Julian around?
I mean, I think Julian, regardless, I think that is going to be probably priority number one because I mean, for the next head coach, he's going to have to come in and try and stabilize the roster, and it's hard to look at the roster and see a more bright spot than Julian Reese. So I do think that having his older sister with the school definitely doesn't help or doesn't hurt. Excuse me.
So I started crying there for a second.
It's all good. I'm here to console you now. But yeah, I fully expect the new coach to take him over and make sure that he does everything possible to keep Julian at home. And I think that there has been nothing but rumors, unsubstantiated rumors that he could leave or anything like that. I don't think that that's a concern that he's actively thought about through the season. So I'm not personally concerned of it as of now, but things can always change.
Speaking of coaching, this was something I wanted to bring up because I know you and I talked a little bit off the air, Ryan, about this, and it kind of got you fired up a little bit. But, we all respect Gary Williams to the nth degree. Us, the fan base, everybody respects Gary Williams for what he's done for this program. But he stirred a little bit of controversy recently as he basically said, I thought I could be a good cheerleader for a few months to get people excited. Then the new coach comes in next year and rides the wave. That's what I envisioned. Only one problem. I didn't get the call. I didn't like when I first read that, I thought,
why, Gary?
Right. Why? I none of this makes sense. As much as I love Gary Williams, it doesn't make sense to me for him to be the stopgap. It was almost kind of like, where Bob Stoops stepped in and coached Oklahoma to the bowl game type thing. Like it just didn't make sense. I get the novelty of it, but that's not what this is about. And we're trying to move on from the Gary Williams era of basketball, right? The last thing that we need is another small sample size of what Gary Williams was and how much we miss it.
Half of that was my point, is half of the problem with Turgeon was that he was not Gary Williams.
Right.
Why in the world would we want to do? It's the same like when you're replacing a legend type thing. You know what I mean? So why would we want to put that legend back in and have the next guy replace a legend instead of replace Turge, who everybody had already, all you got to really do is be better than Turge at this moment. But if you put Gary back in there and by some miracle this team, I don't know, won even 2 Big Ten tournament games, you're going to start a controversy again.
Yep.
Let Gary coach till he's 100. I don't know. I just didn't think it was the right thing to do. And I saw people really upset about it. Yeah, should maybe they have called Gary and said, obviously we thought of you. Here's our concerns. Do you agree? Because he deserves that respect.
Yes.
But I don't think that they should have went in that direction.
Yeah. The only concern with me is that Danny Manning taking over, it just helps with continuity and it's a familiar face. And obviously Gary Williams it's hard to think about Maryland basketball and not have Gary Williams be the first thing in your mind.
Absolutely.
But Gary Williams and Mark Turgeon are apple and oranges. I mean, it's just the way that things would be run is just completely different. And to me, when Danny Manning takes over, it's about making sure that the players are good. From Gary Williams' perspective, if you bring in Gary, and I've had conversations with people about this, it helps from a ticket perspective, financial perspective. It generates some short-term interest in the program. And then next year, you're, like you said, I think it would be inevitable and natural for Maryland fans to compare, not against Turgeon. I mean, you would look against Turgeon, but also have Gary Williams, his success and his accolades in the back of your head. Yep. And it's hard to replace a legendary coach like that.
Yeah, I just, like you said, it doesn't make sense. The difference in basketball play, the X's and O's is stark between the two. To have him come in mid-season and have to implement an entire new offense, or Gary just trying to make shift with the offense that they're already running, just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I love Gary Williams, but this was not the time or place for it.
Yeah, and I agree. And honestly, if they decided to make Gary the coach instead of Danny at the time, I mean, it's hard for me to sit here and say I wouldn't have been excited as an alum.
Oh, the fanboy would. Absolutely.
I mean, I would have been like, oh my God, let's go.
I'd go watch him sweat through a suit one more time.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it would be cool. But I understand why. All I want is Gary Williams to be involved in every aspect of decision making. There's no no reason why Gary shouldn't be. So I just really want that to happen.
All right, man. Well, it's been a good show. Again, big thank you to Chig Okonkwo for taking the time to come on and talk to us for a few minutes today. I had a lot of fun talking to him. If you guys have any questions for us for future episodes, this is kind of where things start to slow down for us. So we'll probably be going to more of this bi-weekly show versus the weekly that we were doing during football season. So if you want to be a part of the show, you got any questions, make sure you're sending them to us on social media. You can send to them at our email at shellandtellpod@gmail.com. You can follow Ryan at TerpsBEspert, me at FredBLBS. You can follow Ahmed at Kafir the Turtle. Be sure to follow Inside the Black and Gold and sign up. $8 a month, best $8 you'll spend for inside information for your Terps. Ryan, sign us out.
Yeah, guys, you're not going to miss what we got coming up. Ahmed's taking us to a whole nother level again. We got a great guest today. We got more great guests coming. So make sure you're following us everywhere you can follow, because this thing's just getting better.
Leave a review, 5-star review on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, we need all the reviews you can do, all the things you can do. The teams are getting better. The pod's getting better. We're doing big things up in here, I promise. Until next time, here's to wishing all is well under the shell.